Hello everyone, I am TheSecretPony, and in today's video we have Willovision here telling us how console gaming is better than PC gaming. I'm sure this will be a treat.
Hey there YouTube and welcome to Willovision. Today I wanted to talk about one of the most important topics in the gaming landscape, which is gaming on a console versus gaming on a PC.
The debate that never seems to end. The console versus PC debate. The one debate where console peasants scream about their exclusives that generally are all the same game but with different characters. There was a bit of a drought for these types of videos. I've been craving to make a response to these types of videos for a long while now. Thank you to the user that sent this to me. They wish to remain unnamed for some reason, but whatever the reason, I will respect it. These types of videos sparked my reasoning for wanting to make response videos in the first place. Back to the topic though, this debate is dumb. I've only really ever found it amusing when people struggle to make moot points to try to justify the platform that they play on. I guess I should say that I don't care much for the platform you play on, so long as it serves you well enough to make you happy. So please, play and enjoy games, no matter what the platform. Before this gets too long, let us continue with the video, shall we?
In the long history of video games, the debate between the console versus the PC as the best gaming platform now stretches back decades. With the broadening of the gaming market due in part to the release of runaway console success stories such as that of Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox brands, and the centralization of PC gaming under Steam,
Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, to a lesser degree as of recent, are all money-hungry companies that just want your money. Yeah, they have some pretty okay games in their first-party lineup, nothing groundbreaking or anything. The Last of Us Part 2 isn't a game that I've played yet, but from what I've seen, it's all polished without much of any real game to actually play. The first game was just mediocre at best in my opinion, and the only first-party game that I'll actively go out of my way and buy is Little Big Planet. That by far is my favorite game out of their lineup just because of the creativity aspect and the adorable little story that follows. The only Microsoft exclusives that I've played are Gears of War and Halo. Those are also on PC now, which is why I said Microsoft to a lesser degree. I don't own a Switch or a Wii, or really any other Nintendo console besides the 3DS, and even then I barely touch it because I find it pretty uncomfortable to use. On to Steam then, a platform I use every single time I use my PC. I suppose you can say that PC gaming is central to Steam, with reason for that. In your PC Gaming is Better video, you bring up Steam sales, of which you'd be right, but that's not the whole story. Steam allows you plenty of options and freedom. For example, a feature that I use quite often when playing games is the Steam overlay. From there, I can access my friends list, a browser, guides, community discussions, and settings for the overlay itself. Which, might I add, can allow you to have things like frame rate counters if that's your thing, and all of that without ever having to tab out of the game. That is just to name a few reasons why myself and others like Steam. Not to mention trading, a relatively easy to navigate interface within the Steam app, and you can even add your games to your favorites list so they'll always be at the top. Steam sales, as you mentioned in your first video, happen multiple times a year, and I could probably dedicate an entire video just based on why I use Steam. It really is just a well-rounded platform that allows you to do more than the competition. There are many other features than the ones that I've listed, but for the sake of your time and mine, I will not be listing them all.
More people are playing games than at any other point in history, and consumer data reveals that this trend will only continue in the years to come. As the base of players grows, the debate between the consoles has only intensified. Many of us have become familiar with or even on the receiving ends of monikers such as Sony Pony or Xbot, these titles being hurled towards the opposing trench lines in the perpetual console wars. But the debate between the console gamers and PC gamers has similarly raged. Before I continue, I want to make a quick disclaimer. This video is part 2 of a 2-part series where I discuss the pros and cons of console gaming and PC gaming.
That is your first mistake. You made 2 videos about this topic and one contradicts the other. And I can only assume that this was an attempt to remain neutral. I will tell you now, this is not what you want to do with videos like these. I didn't watch your first video on this topic until after I saw this one. And the only reason I watched it was so that I didn't make a ton of arguments that you already made in your first video. People are probably going to see this video first before the first one that you made, and thus the responses and the hate comments will start to roll in. You should have just made one video containing both sides rather than just one for each side. Changing lanes here, it's good that gaming has grown larger over the years. More people are playing than ever, especially with a lot of people staying home this year. Video games are a great hobby that I'm happy that more people are getting to explore. Of course people are going to make videos on why gaming is bad or whatever have you, but that just shows you that they are playing the wrong games. That is the best part about gaming after all. There is something for everyone. Be it a platform choice or a genre choice, you will find something that you like. Though the more people that come in, the greedier the companies get, and that's just the unfortunate truth. On another note, competition also sparks fanboyism, which to oversimplify means that a person basically becomes a corporate slave, or has a major bias for one brand over another. The company, in the eyes of the fanboy, can do no wrong, and will always buy their products no matter what. I'm looking at you, JTech TV. This also sparks the mindset of, if you are not with me, then you are against me. Or in the case of the platform wars,
if you don't play on my platform, you must be a lesser being, you plebeian scum.
that was a joke. Fanboyism causes division amongst gamers, and I'm not exactly a fan of those types of people. Unlike them, I oscillate between platforms that take my interest. This upcoming console generation, I may be switching from PlayStation to Xbox for my console of choice. Though I will still be mainly playing on PC, as that is my preferred platform.
Because I want the average consumer to have a better idea of what each platform brings to the table instead of simply hearing one side of the discussion.
That's why I said that you should have made one video rather than 2, though hindsight is 20/20.
I still game on both platforms myself, and both of them have their advantages and their disadvantages when compared against each other.
Yes, there are many more advantages for PC than there is for console. I can't actually find any advantages that a console can offer me over my PC. That's not to say that a console couldn't be the right fit for someone, it's just not the right fit for me. Say, for example, someone that moves around a lot, or for someone that isn't exactly a power user, because that's pretty much what PC gaming is. Someone that wants more control over the way that they play their games. Power users, gaming enthusiasts, or just straight up wanted an open platform. Everyone has their own reason for moving to the PC platform. There is nothing wrong with console gaming. As I've always said, the platform doesn't matter, but the players do. PC is more about smart consumerism rather than just throwing money at a company to tell you what you can and can't do, and what games you can and can't play, and what social interactions you can and can't have. When I say that, I reference the paid online bullshit. I really hope the rumors are true that Microsoft is going to become more consumer friendly and remove the paywall to access online games. If that's the case and the launch goes well, that solidifies my decision on what console I plan on purchasing for this generation.
So think about this question. What makes PC gaming or console gaming better to you, and let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
The comments on this video are a treat, so if you didn't get any for Halloween, believe me, there are plenty in this comment section. I plan on making a video about why PC gaming is my preference here soon.
So let's start with reason number 1 that console gaming is better than PC gaming, and that is that consoles are easier to use.
I actually hear this one a lot, and it really doesn't make any sense.
As Mikhail Kalashnikov, designer of the AK-47, once said, all that is complex is not useful, and all that is useful is simple.
That is simply not true. Maybe in the gun world, but not in the PC world. I find it just as easy to navigate to my screenshots on PC as I do on my consoles, just to place an example.
And when it comes to consumer electronics, setting up a video game console is one of the easiest things to do. When my Xbox arrived, I opened it up, plugged the necessary cords into my television, went through the process of accessing my Wi-Fi and logging into my account, downloaded the necessary updates, and used my free subscription Xbox Live. I accomplished all of these things in roughly 2 hours before I was able to begin downloading my first game.
That took you 2 hours to do? Also, how is that not any different than you doing it on a pre-built PC? You buy from a company, you get it, you plug it into your monitor, or TV, or whatever you're using, and you turn it on. Then you log in or make an account on whatever operating system you're using, and then do the necessary updates. Yes, PC is for power users, but I'm assuming this is the part where you make it all overcomplicated to set up a PC, which is just blatantly misleading about the PC gaming platform.
This is just not the case with the PC. Firstly, PC gaming requires the loading of an operating system, downloading Steam, checking your graphics card and updating the driver, so on and so forth, before you can eventually begin to actually play games.
Do the consoles not have an operating system, or have I just been getting the special editions that do have operating systems? This is what I meant by making it seem more complicated than it needs to be.
Is this process ruinous? No. Is it as bad as pulling teeth? Certainly not. Is it simple? Not compared to the plug-and-play experience of a console.
It's just like setting up a console. Moving on.
Additionally, if you want to play on a gamepad, many older games don't support that option, requiring you to go and download a third-party program in order to do so, which may or may not work at all. Even if it does work, that gamepad feature is often costly in terms of time and difficult to make work without significant trial and error.
This one I just don't understand at all. I've literally never had this issue. All of the games that I've ever played that support controller have always worked with any controller that I felt like using. When I say that, I mean if the game was designed with a controller in mind, and just to put it like God Howard, it just works.
Now compare that to using a controller on your console, which requires virtually no effort. You put in your batteries and you press the on button. Very easy. And that's where this point ends.
You forgot the long and tedious process of having to pair the controller by aiming it right at the right spot, for it to pair properly without any obstruction, and having to use a summoning circle to sell your soul to a demon in exchange for the grip strength. To open the back of the controller for you to put the dangerous lithium batteries in the controller. You, see what I did there? I made it overcomplicated. It's almost like any of that is unnecessary. As far as controllers go, I very rarely ever use them, but same goes for a lot of PC gamers. Once you learn how to use a mouse and keyboard for gaming, it's basically second nature. There are those that can swap between different forms of control with ease. Unfortunately, I am not one of those people.
A PC is almost always going to be a superior machine, but not always a necessary one.
This is actually the only statement that I can agree with without a reasonable doubt. No, a PC is not always the right machine for you, but there are plenty of objects as a consumer that function the same. The PC is just a centralized place to do what you need. Browse the web, pay your bills, play games, work and consume other forms of media, all from one machine, just to use some examples. It is perfectly fine to have multiple devices dedicated to one thing. There is a market for pretty much everything.
And if you decide to purchase a PC, be prepared for the maintenance and natural issues that you will experience with a complex computing machine, because they will happen, and when they do, you'll need to know you can take care of them.
Maintenance? Sure, I can see that. If you have a custom liquid-cooled system and you need to clean it out every few years or so, yeah, I can see that. Natural causes, though? I don't know about you, but I don't have an ecosystem with its own weather system in place to cause rain in my PC. Unless you count my liquid cooler failing, which I don't see a leak happening from it anytime soon. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but I don't understand what you mean by natural causes. Yes, you need to clean your computer because there might be dust or cat hair or whatever else may make its way into your system. Though a console is the same way and a PC is much easier to clean than a console, at least to me and everyone else I know.
Which brings me to my next point. Reason number 2 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that repairing consoles is easier than repairing a gaming PC, at least for catastrophic issues.
No, that's not entirely true. Myself and everyone I know finds it easier to maintain a PC than a console. It really isn't as complicated as you might think. Now, when you talk repairs, a console usually has everything soldered onto the board, which requires other tools to repair. Now, the same could be said for a PC. You could have some issue on board, say bent pins or something that is physically broken off of the board. In that case, you just send the board back if you built a PC yourself and you get it replaced under some form of warranty, or if you bought the part secondhand, I'm sure there are ways of getting a refund for that part. Though I am not familiar, as I don't usually buy parts secondhand, and the times that I have, they have always worked, so I've not had that experience yet.
Imagine that you're playing your Xbox one day. You're in the midst of an epic showdown with an immensely powerful brute on Halo. Your laser-focused, fast-as-lightning reflexes are your advantage in defeating your terrible foe. Just as you raise your weapon to deliver the mortal strike, your console turns off. You try to turn it back on to no avail. You do everything you know to do to fix the problem, but you just can't do it. So what do? Simple. With a gaming console, you can call Microsoft and have your console shipped to them for repair services. The repair services that console makers provide come straight from the source. You don't need to find a specialist, you just need to send it to one place 99% of the time. And given the market pressures to provide stable, functioning consumer electronics, whatever company made your console will usually do whatever it can to get your product fixed.
If a consumer has a broken pre-built upon arrival or failure of a part, you don't just send that part back. You send back the whole system to the company that built the PC, and they will fix the issue and then send it back. I don't really understand this argument. It seems like the people that make these videos forget that if you buy a pre-built, you send the system back to the builder. You didn't just buy the parts, you bought the whole package, and that means that you don't need to just send back the parts that break. Now, in the case of a system that you built yourself, yes, you will need to send that specific part back. And in some cases that aren't so obvious, you may have to diagnose the issue yourself, though there is plenty of information online to help you with your situation. So long as your brain cells can generate enough heat to give you the thought to do a little bit of research, you'll be able to find the issue with your computer with a little bit of patience. People that make these types of arguments always make it seem like you have to do it all by yourself and make it seem more complicated than it actually is. And that alone makes people find PC to be a bit more hassled than it actually is, and steers them away. This video is just flawed in every argument against the PC. Moving on.
PC gaming manufacturers are a completely different story. Gaming computers are made by a myriad of companies.
Yes, while it is true that many companies offer gaming computers, not all of them on this list do. This is incredibly misleading. That's why MSI, for example, makes everything from thin and light laptops to fully built workstations and almost everything in between. And Corsair, in their partnership with Elgato, also offers computers based around streaming and content creation. This video is just bad. You're creating division and making it seem like consoles are the way to go for everyone rather than showing them that it might be best suited for their use case. This is incredibly wrong. I can point out on the list that Apple doesn't make gaming computers. Google does not make gaming computers to my knowledge, and AMD and Intel don't make gaming computers either. Yes, they do make components that you can use for gaming, but they don't make the computers themselves. I mean, GoPro makes cameras, and you keep stacking up a brick wall and telling people that you have to climb up this huge wall using just their fingertips, when in reality there are ladders to climb that wall. Yes, when choosing the right gaming computer for you may take a little bit of research, and that's clearly something that you didn't do before making this video.
The overwhelming majority of whom don't have to operate under the same level of market pressure as Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo because they aren't as well known.
Nope, no, not even touching this one. This is just monstrously false. They are not well known to you, Willavision. to you. Moving on.
A lot of gamers that aren't really familiar with the PC can't really tell you the difference between Nvidia's graphics cards versus AMD.
As true as that may be, there are plenty of user-made graphs and charts out there for you to find to help your purchasing decision. Jay's 2 Cents, Linus Tech Tips, Gamers Nexus, just to name a few of the reputable sources that a lot of people go to for information. If you want user reviews, you can look on forums, or you can find performance charts on the manufacturer website if you look hard enough. You make it seem like there's no information out there at all, and act like people don't know how to do research. Just because you don't know how to do research doesn't mean that everyone else can't.
With consoles, this information simply isn't as pertinent as it is for PC gamers.
No, because the console gamers don't need it. They bought it to play games or to be a media device. Consoles are not exactly for power users or enthusiasts, though the developers for the consoles need this information, so just because you don't need it doesn't mean that the information isn't needed somewhere else.
But let's say you have a problem with your gaming rig. If you're smart enough to figure out the issue on your own, congratulations, you savvy computer devil you. I tip my hat in respect of your computer skills. If not, you're gonna have to find a computer repair store, which I have found through personal experience can vary widely in terms of their customer service and ability to actually solve your problem.
I've already spoken on this in this video. I don't think I need to do it again. On to the next.
Reason number 3 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that consoles have first-party exclusive games. If there is any reason on this list that die-hard console gamers should be able to use as solid ammunition in the debate between consoles and the PC, it's that the PC gaming experience, going solely by the games which are released on PC, simply does not offer the fabled lineup that it once held the title for.
Is this just a better way of saying that PC doesn't have games or games worth playing? Yeah, I love my exclusives, and I love justifying my purchase of a completely separate gaming platform just to play a few games that won't go anywhere else. Exclusives are divisive. They separate gaming platforms and they create console wars. I've already touched on exclusives once in this video, but I'm gonna go off on a tangent here, completely off script. I despise exclusive titles. If you can't sell consoles based off of their own merit, there's something wrong with the console. If you only sell consoles based off of nothing more than you have to buy a console to play this game, then your shit isn't worth buying. Exclusives are bad for the gaming community. Just the idea of, you don't get to play our games because you have a different platform other than the one we're on, is such a playground way of thinking. It's juvenile and only good if you're a suit in a boardroom. Moving on.
Microsoft has Halo and Gears of War.
Those are now on PC.
Sony has The Last of Us and Uncharted.
I will be 100% honest with you. If I didn't play The Last of Us and Uncharted, if you were to tell me that they were the same game, or at least set in the same universe, I would have believed you. They are just third-person action-adventure games with stealth elements and nothing more, and they're just more polished than gameplay anyway.
Nintendo has Mario and The Legend of Zelda. All of these games have sold millions of copies and are even revered as some of the greatest games ever made. Sure, the PC has been the home of some fantastic series over the years. Crowbar swingers stand at attention. But without first-party developers, the PC gamer doesn't benefit the same way that consoles do in terms of exclusive games.
No, we don't in the same way. We benefit more from it. Epic Games aside, we don't need exclusivity, but in the same vein here, we have more exclusives than all of the consoles. The PC is an open market, an open platform. You can choose to put a game on one marketplace or multiple. For example, I will always buy from Steam over Epic Games. The only reason people use their marketplaces for the free games every few weeks. Other than that, they aren't worth giving any traffic to because I want to bring a console experience to PC. When it should be the other way around. Bringing a PC experience to console, let the people have choices instead of just the choices that Sony and Microsoft deem fit.
While Microsoft has been making their games more available to PC consumers, Nintendo and Sony don't appear to have any plans to do so, and their platforms are the only places you'll be able to play their games. Sony and Microsoft have been bolstering their respective number of first-party development studios to prepare for the upcoming 9th generation of consoles. Microsoft Game Studios includes names such as Obsidian Entertainment, Ninja Theory Limited, The Coalition, and 343 Industries. Sony similarly has an array of talented development teams including Guerrilla Games, Insomniac Games, and Naughty Dog Studios under their corporate umbrella. All of these studios have a solid track record of making great games. In contrast, the list of developers who exclusively focus on PC games is very small.
Even if they are indie developers, we still have more developers on PC than console.
And even though PC gamers can fairly point to some categories of games that don't come to consoles very often, such as RTS and turn-based strategy games, console gamers can equally point to the lack of many of the AAA games mentioned above in regards to the PC. Finally, even the games that do receive PC ports, like some of the sports games that a lot of us are into, don't have as strong of an online community. Look at the sales of Madden NFL 20 on the Xbox versus its PC port.
Which one is it? FIFA or Madden? And why did you go with 2018 sales? Was it to fit your narrative?
The numbers are simply incomparable, and besides which, PC ports of games often aren't as good as their console counterparts because companies don't want to spend as much time and resources on trying to make a PC as good as its console counterpart because they know that they won't see as much of a return on their investment due to the PC market not being as strong of a place to invest development resources.
Just hearing how wrong that is hilarious, but I can tell that you're serious, and that makes it even funnier. He'll point to Batman Arkham Knight. Watch, they always go to Batman Arkham Knight.
See the controversy in 2015 over Batman Arkham Knight on PC.
Yep, there it is. I called it. Out of every game that has come to PC since then, you had to point out Arkham Knight. I mean, at least the game launched some of the time. And when I fell through the map at 60 frames per second, which is better than the 24 seen on the console half the time. Arkham Knight has since been fixed and runs better than any console can. You and every other person that I've seen try this point to Arkham Knight because you don't know of any others. It's almost like Red Dead Redemption 2 never came to PC, huh? That game flopped hard on PC during launch, and oh boy was Red Dead bad.
Even though PC doesn't have the same list of exclusive games as the consoles do, one thing I've noted people saying about PCs is that they have more games, and while I don't really have any data on hand to refute that point,
you can't.
I'd ask you to go look at the game library on Steam right now, and you'll probably see what I see, which is endless pages of arcade games and other games that, while I'm not really going to pass judgment on them because I haven't played them, the games listed in their libraries simply aren't of the same caliber to make up for the experiences offered by the consoles, at least for the average consumer.
Why does every single game to you console players have to be a AAA title? Why not B games or indies? I get more enjoyment out of games like Golf with Your Friends, Among Us, or Jackbox. I get more enjoyment out of those than grindy sessions of GTA, Red Dead, Fallout 76, Overwatch, or hell, even Call of Duty or Battlefield.
Reason number 4 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that multiplayer games on consoles are generally going to be more equalized. When you're playing an online game on a console, everyone uses basically the same equipment, whereas on PC, different monitors, gamepads, keyboards, etc. can be optimized for gaming, which means it's possible for some players to have an advantage over others.
Controller versus controller, mouse and keyboard versus mouse and keyboard, there is no disadvantage. It is a person versus person. Yes, a higher refresh rate might help you, but if you suck at 60 FPS, you're going to suck at 144 FPS, and if you're bad at 1080p, you're going to be bad in 4K. Don't blame the hardware, blame the player. I do say that when you pit the two head-to-head, the auto-aim puts the PC players at a disadvantage. Now, for the opposite side of that, if you're able to use a mouse and keyboard for shooter-type games, then I do recommend it. The precision and the higher skill ceiling will allow you to up your game in ways you can't even imagine. Yeah, it will take a bit of getting used to if you're used to controllers, but it's worth it in the end.
Whereas again, with a console, there's really not going to be much variation for the average person using a controller, other than their inherent skill in the game. For example, I strongly doubt that many people even own the Xbox Elite controller, but even if they do, I think it's really unlikely for them to be substantially better at a game just because of the controller they're using alone.
Good job contradicting your previous statement.
And then there's also the issue of specialized monitors here, which isn't a bad thing on its own, but it is definitely something that can have an influence when aggregated against the other technical factors at play here. And finally, we arrive at reason number 5 that console gaming is better than PC gaming. And this last reason might turn on an argument that's similar to the simplicity discussion in reason number 1. But in a word, the final reason that console gaming is better than PC gaming all comes down to optimization. When you buy a console, you're also buying a certain guarantee that you're going to be able to put a console under your television, plug it in, and it will simply work without any major issues popping up.
I won't touch too much on the monitor thing, just refer to my earlier statements on the monitors. Other than that, you said it yourself. You had to do all of the necessary updates, and yes, a console will update multiple times over its lifespan. Just like a video card will update multiple times over its generation. I've said it multiple times in this videos, PCs are more focused towards power users when consoles are not.
There's no need to evaluate a console's graphics card to make sure it's up to date. You don't need to worry about whether or not other players will have an advantage playing against you online with a mouse and keyboard. Well, you didn't have to at one point.
There you go, oversimplifying again. You conveniently left out that you get to customize your experience on PC. You get to choose what settings you run at, and you can also prioritize graphics over frame rate or frame rate over graphics. The choice is yours. So even if you have older hardware or hardware that is less powerful than the game you are trying to run, you can lower the settings to make the game playable. The option is yours.
And generally speaking, the experience of gaming on a console is that of overall ease and simplicity. With a console, a night of Netflix doesn't require a special setup or the breaking of social norms.
Wait, what do you mean breaking of social norms? Is it not normal to have a PC in a household?
Pew Research recently reported that the overwhelming majority of young people have access to or own a video game console.
I don't know why you put that screenshot there, but yes, people own consoles. Girls, boys, and every gender in between can play video games. Gaming has always been a more male-dominant activity. Does that mean that girls can't do it? Absolutely not. Everyone can play games. Gaming is a hobby for everyone to enjoy, no matter race, gender, or creed. As I said earlier, there is something for everyone.
And the fact that gaming consoles are so widely used is a sign of their ability to be seamlessly used by so many people, without having to perform a ton of research on any exact product with certain specs for a certain budget or a monitor setup, so on and so forth. As previously mentioned, a console is something that almost anyone can use without resorting to techno jargon or a complicated setup. Consoles are the perfect, seamless technology that work with almost any existing entertainment item that you have in your home, and it's just incredibly hard to beat the convenience of throwing on a game and then switching over to Netflix or Hulu when you have your significant other over.
I don't know if you know this, but you can also do that on a PC. Actually, on a PC, you can do both at the same time. There have been times where I've watched a series while I settlement built on Fallout 4 or other single-player games that I have. I don't think it gets more seamless than just opening a browser and opening your streaming service of choice and closing down your game. My partner and I stream stuff exclusively off of my PC because I don't have a TV in my bedroom, nor do I need one right now either. So your argument there is a bit null.
Alright YouTube, so those are my 5 reasons why console gaming is better than PC gaming. So are my thoughts that of a silly console peasant? Are you praying now for the mighty Lord Gaben to smite me as I speak?
Yes.
Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.
Well, that will wrap it up for me. I'm happy that you stayed this long. As always, my socials will be linked in the description down below, along with my Discord server should you choose to join. That is the fastest way to get in contact with me. This video took me just under 10 hours to make, so I hope if you enjoyed it that you will leave a like, and that subscribe button is also down there should you choose to support the channel. With all that being said, I hope to see you again soon.